Laconis, we live now? Okay, great. All right. What's up, everybody? Got a really special guest here. Literally my favorite comedian. And I'm not just saying that because he's the guest. Uh, you may have heard of him. His name is Owen Benjamin. Owen, thank you for coming, man, today to join the stream.
Bro, thanks for having me. That's a big intro. It's a lot of pressure. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's like I think to me, you're like the definition of a comedian that really. I was telling my wife this. I'm like, there's just like no one can. It's not only that no one can control you. You spare basically no one. Like you literally spare no one. Blacks, whites, Jews, Arabs. I mean, bro. It's like even if it doesn't matter their country nationality. You know, like the Armenian guy you ripped apart in the West Coast, the comedian who I guess. Did you dirty, and it was just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, how the heck? It's like, where do you find the time to get all of this knowledge, then add that with what's going on in current events, and then also after you do all of that, fucking just do some, improv or just spontaneous joke and just rip them apart,
Thanks, man.
you know? So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I just feel like if I don't hit everybody with the same ethic, I lose my privilege to do so. I become like a mercenary, you know?
Yeah, man. So now are you so man, did you just basically like were you just doing comedy in like Hollywood, New York comedy clubs and then like cuz now it seems like you're in a farm, like how did
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
there, man? If you
Well,
don't
I
mind.
was, I
Yeah.
mean, I was a heckler at a Renaissance fair in high school where people like threw tomatoes at me and I made fun of them all day long. And so I'd just be, head and arms out of a wall and any demo. And I learned that you make fun of what someone has pride in, not what they are. So it's like a 500-pound guy doesn't care about fat jokes. It's like me after 4 kids when I used to have abs, like I'm the guy that spirals, right? Because it's like 30 pounds overweight is the guy. And so I would find where the pride is where the crack was. And but at that point, I thought I was going to be like a lawyer or something. I didn't think I was going to be a professional comedian. And then in college, my first set was opening for Kevin Hart because everyone was like, dude, you got to do a set. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But my dad taught public speech. And I played classical piano. So they're like, and I didn't have that fear. So I was like, okay. And then, and he was like a college act at the time. It was like not even a big show. And it gave me the bug. And I started doing more stand up. And then I went to Hollywood with my friend. I got on the show Punks. Sandler put me in some movies. He saw one of my sketches when I was like 25, put me in House Bunny and Jack and Jill, Born to Be a Star with Schwartzen. And then I got all these writing jobs because I could come up with just like ideas and stories. I was good at pitching. And then I did Gay Town, which was I was the straight man in a gay world because I used to do a bit about my dad sang opera. I played football. I had to come out of the straight closet. So I'm like, I want to play catch with mom. So that bit became reality. I didn't know that. So I guess I'm deep state Illuminati. And because now, Hollywood, it really is like that. It's like, so you're not at all gay, And and so then I get into like I do like Leno and Fallon, and I become a lead of a sitcom, and I'm touring with Vaughn. I was just like closing act, and he's a really solid dude. And so I'm just like a high ranking working comic. I was never like a star, but I was, at CAA, my picture's on the wall at the Hollywood Improv. I was like really well respected. And then the trans kid thing happened, and I was like really adamant about that. Because I didn't care about anything before. I was like, adults, whatever. But then when it was like 7-year-olds, I was like, and so that started rubbing people the wrong way. I would never cuck on gun stuff. We had our first baby, and I was like, we got to leave LA. We got to raise him, in a family environment. My motto was always family first. I'm all about making money. Like I'm not like a monk or something, but I would never put money over family. And so we do that. And then the trans kid thing stuff is happening. And I'm still at CAA and Prince About Young, and I have a book deal with Norton, the Guns, Germs, and Steel and all that. And I lose all of it in like a week. I have a full touring schedule gone. you know, and then I got, and then from there, I just had to start rebuilding, and I'm kicked off PayPal and Airbnb and Twitter and Facebook and all this shit. It was just like bang, bang, bang. And that got me more into conspiracies because it didn't make sense. I mean, I've never even been accused of a misdemeanor. Like I was known as the guy that could do like Mormon corporates open for Julio Iglesias. Like you could drop me in any environment and I would, you know, I'd make fun of the Jews in New York and the gays in San Fran, the Cubans in Miami and the rednecks in Texas, you know. And it was like, because I would do like in-group joking. Like when I make fun of Mormons, it's like, you don't drink coffee, but you drink Monster Energy. You know, I'm like, you're like Gentile Jews. You got Zion and Salty Lake. You're looking for loopholes. And so I would do like in-group jokes, not like you're stupid, you know? And so then all that went down and I realized you can only control what you build. So over a lot of crazy times, I was like, all right, so we made our own streaming platform. We made our own social media that's like clean and just like homesteady. I was like during COVID, I was like, I won't comply. So we started doing all our own food, all our own. And so I can understand from an outside perspective, it might've looked crazy, but I realized that it's not do not comply, it's do not rely, because dependency is the whole controlling apparatus. That's why I don't blame any groups. Like that's why I can hit all the groups. Like I'll make fun of Jews and then I'll make fun of like Nazi guys, you know? I think I lost you.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, because I know it's our behavior. Like, you know, people blame everything on Jews. And I'm like, well, don't take out any loans then. And they're like, but I have to. I'm like, right. So then I have more kids and I just, you know, I was almost like, defensively built a really beautiful life. And I was like, oh, dude, because I made this sketch. I don't know if I've sent it to you. Hate is great. Where we're in like a full-blown, we're in like a hate group in Idaho. We're all like decked out in camo, and it has like a Star of David with a line through it. And we're like, yeah, we got to take down the Jews. And we keep listing all the the industries, and every solution is just us not doing it. You know, it's like,
no, because I'm telling you, as a Jewish guy, like I see your comedy, man. I'm just like, it's like, all right, I could see it, you know, and I'm like, but it's like it's genuinely funny, you know. It's like at least I could be like, all right, you know, like the gay homosexual, you know, Nick Fuentes.
Fuentes, yeah.
Occasionally, you know, he does say something funny, but you know, like occasionally, you know, like all right, it's funny, you know. But with you, it's like you really think of this elaborate, like you would. I remember you did this one like little short film. You dress up. You're at like a farm. You're doing like some like KKK meeting about the Jews.
Yeah, that was it. Hate is great. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and it's making fun of the hate group more than the Jews. Yeah. It's like that's the irony about it is different people are watching it and feeling differently about it because the overall joke is it's literally our responsibility. Like when the one hate group guy is like, when it's like, oh, the Jews run all the pornos, and I'm like, okay, we got to get the Jews. No, don't watch any more pornos. And he's like, I just got high-speed internet. Like, and I'm like, dude, come on. Because it's all opposite engagement, you know? Because the fundamental I make fun of is victim consciousness, not Jews. It's like, you got a victor, you got a winner Jew, you got a Jew that's like productive and gets it done and works out and is like not blaming shit. That's not what I'm making fun of. I'm making fun of and dude, Catholics do it and Protestants and Muslims. And it's like, the overall thing is like, I'm a victim. I had no other choice. I had to watch the pornos. I'm just like, it's all you. I don't believe in victim consciousness. And it's funny. One of my Jewish friends is like, that's Kabbalah. I'm like, easy, buddy. But I guess like a Kabbalah teaching is there's no victims. You have to choose it. You have to be like, because you're giving away your authority. Like the irony about Nick Fuentes is like, if you convince a population that all their problems are Jews, you're almost making them your authority. And then you're just bitching. And it's like, you're going into a ghetto. I'm like, don't you like when you hear black people do it, can't you like hear that? Like, are we oppressing them and doing slavery? I'm like, you're doing the same thing. And they're like, okay, Jew. And now I'm apparently a Jew now, which is hilarious.
Yeah, man. Well, you got the Benjamin name, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of the Jew names, you know, because I have a home in Germany. My wife is German, so like Scholz. It sound like, you know, it sounds like a Jew name, but in fact, a lot of Germans have names that sound like they're to American they would sound like a Jew, but it's actually just German. You know,
Yeah.
like like the Berg, like the last name Berg. Yeah, you do have a lot of Jews in America that have that name, but in reality, in Germany, there's so many names, and you would assume, hey, this person is a Jew. They're not. They're just German. And I think that
Yeah.
a lot of that comes from German Jews that come to the United States. You know.
Yeah. If there's not a currency or a precious metal in the name, I don't assume Jew. But if it's like diamond, gold, silver money, I'm like, okay, now we're talking about one of the guys. Dude, in my
Yeah.
family, there was a Jewish part of my family, or like whatever that even means, you know,
Oh,
like the ethnic thing. My dad's mom, and that was Karash, and they said Karis, and that was the sect that was like, and that doesn't sound like anything. I don't even know what that is. Like Karis, like I don't know what that is. Yeah, but
okay.
burg just means city. It just means like a burg, you know. It's just
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, so where are you now, man? Are you are you did you grow up in New York or East
yeah. I grew
Coast?
up in Oswego, New York, like north of Syracuse. Do you know like
Okay.
way up, like on Lake Ontario?
Yeah, by Niagara Falls.
Yeah, like way up there. It's like a town that we had our apocalypse in like 1880. So that's why I'm not worried about any of this shit. People are like, it's the apocalypse. I'm like, bro, when they stopped doing the Erie Canal, my town just became Siberia. So like I get it. It's all
Dang,
about not
man.
being full of despair, you know. So then now I live in North Idaho, and it's beautiful here, man. It's like America's little secret. It's like Switzerland.
Wow, man. And then what? So you just bought a farm? You left LA. You were like, I'm gonna buy a farm, go with your wife,
Well,
make
no,
your
it's
own food.
gradual. So we go to Saranac Lake in the Adirondacks where my brother is because I'm like, I want my kids to have cousins. I'm like, I can still write, I can still tour, I'm still doing everything. But you know, I'd rather have my kids have family and nature and all that. And you know, I did a special back then that I got a standing ovation while it happened, but then there was blowback with some racial situations. Even though there's nobody there, it's like the whitest town ever, and it was all just like posturing. And so I didn't want to bring heat to my brother. I was like, you know, I'm kind of high maintenance when it comes to this. So we went to the West Coast because my wife's family's from the Seattle area because I just wanted to be near family. And then the whole time we're like getting chickens, we're growing herbs, we're like slowly figuring out that lifestyle. And now we love it, man. We love, you know, my wife makes cheese and we sell it to our friends. And it's like, you know, raw milk and eggs and ducks and alpacas and goats and, you know, greenhouses and fruit trees. And it's like, it literally is. I like defensively fell into heaven by being an asshole. It's weird.
Nice, man. Nice, man. In Germany, man, my wife's grandma, she and her grandpa, they would make a lot of their own food, and they would give it away. And that's how I could sort of tell you're like really doing this, man, because you generally have a surplus. And what she would actually do is she take some of the food and then freeze it, and then put it in
Yeah.
in the freezer so they could eat it later. Um, I personally love eating at farms, man. I remember
I can tell you were like writing to me about the ice cream and stuff. I was like, dude, I bond with people more about food, like
Yeah.
respective food than I do race, religion, anything else. You were like, dude, and we were talking about that before. And I see a lot in people when they understand the quality of food. It really makes you feel like you have energy coming into you.
Yeah, man. Because I remember when you did a video, I think it might have been someone in your family. It was a young lady, and she made the ice cream, and I
Yeah, it
think I
was.
sent that to my wife. Yeah, I sent that to my
Nice.
wife, and I'm like, hey, man, I love what this guy just did. I want to do something like this. And so she went to the farm near our home. We have several farms near our home, and yeah, man. And then I send you the picture because I was like, I have to give you homage. Like
I
you were
love
the
it.
one that influenced
I
me to
love
have
it.
ice cream without sugar, no chemicals. Just
Exactly.
like organic or from a farm, just a few ingredients. But anyway, man, I so you got a new a piece of art, performing art that has just come out on the 10th of this month. It came out, right?
Yeah, and the story behind it's insane. So I'm like not allowed in clubs and theaters. Now I think it's cool, but that first time when Trump was first elected, it was like this like culmination of all these factors. And I was like banned from everywhere. And so we crowdfunded to buy a piece of land. You know, I'm like, okay, you can't stop comedy. We can do it anywhere. So this set, this tent, all of it was all constructed by like my audience. And so it's in Missouri. We have a festival. We raise our own cows. We have like, you know, over 1,000 people, children playing. It's, you know, there's no alcohol. It's hilarious. And so this special was taped in on land there's private, no debt. And one of the big things about it is, you know, you can't cancel anything. It's all an offer, you know, and there's no real tyranny. It's like, okay, you can't use my system that I made. I didn't make YouTube. I didn't make this stuff. And I got a real sense of peace. And dude, I think it's like my best special now because it's like clean and chill and I don't have an axe to grind. I'm just like making fun of like family stuff.
You know, the thing is, man, I was talking to a buddy of mine about this. You know, when I have this Alpha King Nima character, satirical character, you know, a lot of it was, you know, I was able to get a bunch of views on Instagram, and then I feel like what happened last year, around last year, is I got canceled, and it's interesting. Like when you're, you know, today, before, like in the '90s, you would have, you know, the big movie studios, the big television networks. And then now in the 20s, you have the social media apps. But even when you're on the social media apps, you don't really, you're just renting that traffic. You're just
Exactly.
renting that audience. And, you know, and yeah, you know, I could give you 19 videos, man, on Instagram that has, you know, 1 million views or greater. But then clearly something happened where I'm just completely cut off. And to me, that's like, hey, man, your show got canceled. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, sure.
you know, your show, you got canceled. Clearly, you got canceled. Something happened. So, like, when I see so I was talking to a buddy of mine. I was like, okay, so what's the next step here? What could we possibly do? And the reality is like, if you're not touring, if you're not going to comment, this is just my, and I'd love to see what you think about this. You know, you
Yeah,
have
of
way more
course.
experience than I do. You've been in the game way more than I have. You know, it's just like, if you're not in the, if you're not willing to go to comedy clubs and do live events where you're directly consumer facing and you're selling direct to the consumer, you can build an email list which you own,
Exactly.
you know, and that way you really have avoided cancellation and you have a way to monetize. Now I thought also, I was like, well, why are there so many comedians that are successful in the comedy clubs, but I'm not seeing them on social media, and I'm seeing such bland comedy on social media? It's almost like it, like to me, Trevor Noah, for example, he's a very extreme, he's extremely bland comedian, and or you see like the TikTok comedy, like it's just fucking boring, bro. It's like so not. It's so like it's like for like, you know, children. You know,
Totally.
it's like the TV sitcoms of the '90s. You know, you just like you don't. There's this. It's just so gone. But in the comedy clubs, you see such hard comedy. You know, then I thought to myself, then I realized, I was like, it's not that these guys they can't do comedy on social media. It's that there's just mass cancellations. So there's just mass suppression of a lot of this sort of comedy. And essentially the content moderators, the social media apps have replaced the casting directors, have replaced the movie producers of Hollywood in the 90s when I was studying theater and I wanted to be an actor. I didn't do it because I figured I was just going to get typecast as an Arab, as a terrorist. But the thing is, then I was like, okay, well, social media, you can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can get on the algorithm. It's an even playing field. And I started believing. I'm like, oh wait, hey, look, man, I'm getting 1 million views, 2 million views, 3 million views. It's like I'm on TV. But then what happens? Boom, mass cancellation. Your show got canceled. You're off the grid. And now I think, and you see Barry Diller, billionaire, you know, media titan, Hollywood titan, you know, started at William Morris. Barry Diller says something like, now Silicon Valley is more powerful than Hollywood. And he just said this in the past week. And I think he nailed it because essentially, even with entertainment, there guys like you and me who make jokes that are highly offensive, vulgar, degenerate, racist, sexist, all of it, right? It's like we're of course an advertiser doesn't want to work with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mark
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Mark Zuckerberg, it's not even about him being a Zionist Jew controlling us. It's like he wants to make money to pay for the artificial intelligence investments and innovations. He's about to become the world's richest man potentially. He doesn't give a shit about you and me doing comedy. He wants to make the cash flow come in with the advertisers. And if if I'm making jokes about a guy being a tranny or a homo, and you're making a joke about a Jew, of course, bro, of course, their advertisers are gonna avoid you and me. So that's my long rant. I would just love to see, just in general, like if you just saw me talk like this for 2-3 years, what would you think as a comedian that's actually OG in the game, who's Dave Chappelle? I think he copied you, bro, because I saw Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle, that homosexual tranny joke, and I never knew who you were until because at that point, Chappelle was my favorite comedian. Now I think he's more predictable. I think he's still amazing. But I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah, me too.
at that point, he was my number one favorite comedian. But then when I saw like one joke, maybe two jokes he copied, completely ripped off you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's anybody can go on YouTube, anybody can go online and just easily see Dave Chappelle copy, Owen Benjamin. And I think it's under. I mean, what would
There's
be the
so many of
odds?
them. There's so many of them too, and they all got scrubbed. I mean, I was getting I had like hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, channel deleted, clips channels deleted. I did a YouTube channel once called Tea Time with Gary and Terry, guest hosted by Owen Benjamin, to get around the cancellation, where it's like, and it worked for like 6 months. It was like, oh, it's Tea Time with Gary and Terry, but I'm the guest host, but I was always the guest host, and I invented these guys, And so they can scrub that stuff totally. And I think the motivation, you're right on the money about that, because I'd only get like intense when I felt morally judged by hypocrites. But if someone's like, yeah, you can't offend Pfizer or else we can't have a company, no hard feelings, I'd be like, I get it. But when it's like, you're getting people killed, I'm like, no. Like my manager, when he dropped me, it wasn't personal. He was just like, dude, my agent was like, you've become bad. And that's the thing that would bother me. But you're right in the money, because corporations, they love bland, because it's just don't exclude anyone. And that's why they're all losers. It's like you'll get millions of people following this stuff or going to stadiums, but they're all like low energy, like low. I'm not trying to say they have like a lower soul than mine, but I would say lower quality, where they're just like, don't say the thing that makes me not able to come because I'm motivated by pathos and victim consciousness, And so if you look at a comedian, you're like, okay, he's going to exclude, gays, women, Jews, Muslims, Arab. If you do that, because my whole thing is I like to make fun of the stuff of my audience. Like the last year's festival, I'm like, okay, who am I going to make fun of? Veterans, Christians, Jew, I want to give them that. Like dudes in wheelchairs, because I'm like,
you're savage, bro.
Yeah, like veterans. I'm like, haven't you guys had enough? You're going to close the post office, take your own day. We give you all this money just to have lippers and just spray, and they're dying laughing because no one will make fun of them. Everybody's so like hands up. And so, yeah, it's just about quality versus quantity. It's like Planet Fitness versus a great trainer. You know what I mean? It's like, or like Domino's Pizza versus my wife's, like, and so I've accepted that and just work hard, make the quality content. I serve my audience. I don't serve my sponsors because I don't have sponsors. So it's like, I've been the guy on tour sponsored by like Old Spice. And like, I know what that feels like, where they're like, we have some notes. Old Spice would want you to, and so you're like appealing to a company, and corporation, the voice of the dead, corpus oration. My kids are learning Latin in homeschool, so I'm seeing all this crazy shit now. And it's like, okay, that's the inversion. That's like the empty man versus the living man. And so now I fortunately get paid directly from my own audience based on my quality. And then it makes me do better and better until I'm performing like all my jokes for the first time and recording it as a special. And it's way better than Joe Rogan's, and he's like working on it for years. It's like, man, no, he's like, man, that joke about getting banged in the ass by an alien, it took me so long to perfect it. I'm like, oh
man. But would you say that that's before we get into into the new film, man? It's But would you say that's generally about accurate that for a comedian today, like if you're not willing to go do events, I mean, like I got a book coming out, How to Not Be a Bitch, Alpha King Nemo, How to
That's
Not Be a Bitch,
good.
just Alpha. Yeah, you know how
Great title.
because I'm yeah because I hey bro, I'm just thinking like how else like other than going direct to the consumer because no sponsor, bro, there's no advertiser that wants to sponsor me talking about ass or fucking like banging a girl, like it's so vulgar,
But if
like
you
similar
make
to
it
you
through
make
the
up.
looking glass, like if you transition like that, there's way more opportunity. That's the irony. It's
Yeah,
like, because they're on this trajectory that goes like this. So it's like clubs to theaters to stadiums to like a deal with MasterCard and then stadiums and then theaters and then clubs and then insanity. It's like they're on a roller coaster with tracks and they have teams and and it's cool. I'm not saying it's a bad life. And no offense to Joe Rogan. I was just being funny because like if you got your own comedy club and you get to go up every single night and I got to do it once in a hayfield, like I'm going to make fun of that. But like what we're doing, it's like, it seems a lot harder. Like you're hustling, but it's like serving your audience directly. I mean, a dude I used to hang out with in Los Angeles was Russell Peters. And it was like, he was just going directly to like India, Middle East. And I didn't see him anywhere in auditions or nothing. He was just doing his own thing. And he was like the richest guy. Like he made more than anybody. And it was like emails and just direct jokes for his people. And I've seen that a lot, that like it's a struggle. It's hard to get through. You're selling I'm selling like, one special at a time, just making sales, but you own it. And then you have like real loyalty. It's not just like doom scrolling where like you might buy a vape pen off some guy, like I feel like that like platform, like that model can get you rich, like low rich easily, but it doesn't lead to these like, giant things. Like, I'd love to own like land for food production and all my own content and like distribution. I mean, that would be so epic. And, when I was more conspiratorial, I'm still conspiratorial, but not like I was. We're allowed to do this. We just have to do it, And so the victim mentality is like, oh, they won't let me do this, but that's not true. It's just hard. And so I've accepted that and I'm like having a blast with it.
all right, so this is so let's start. So just real quick. So on October 10th, your new project, new film came out here. So this is a scene in it where if you could please let the audience know.
I don't know which one. Was this the one? Is this the one about blacks and whites in races, like foot races?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is it. Laconis, please play it.
Yeah, so every time you're like, man, this is so intense doing this, but you earn it and you get to see how the world works. And then you meet someone that's totally detached from reality, like the vegans. Like, I don't know any vegans where I live, but every now and then you'll meet a vegan. And they're completely in a fantasy. Like they remind me of little kids playing like tea. They're eating a steak made out of almonds. And they're like, this is even better than a real steak. And they're like, oh, they're like a tea party, like little kids, they're just playing make-believe. I'm like, no, it's horrible. It's so bad. And then I realized, and then they always complain about Klaus Schwab. They're like, hear about Klaus Schwab? They said, you will own nothing and be happy. Like that's, their next post is like, van life, hashtag owning nothing. I'm like, you want that. Want to know what these people want? They want a life that I could provide for them as my domestic animals. Because if you think about it, I have dairy cows. So it's like, what does every vegan want? They want a gated community, right? Check, gated community, no problem. Then they want an all-plant, non-GMO diet. No problem. They want to work only 1 hour a day. They want fun, ridiculous names like Dandy and Gypsy. And they want, and then I castrate all the black males. All right, that was intense. All right, they could be any color. I don't know why I said black. I'm in a flow state right now, You can castrate the white ones, but it's like,
oh, they show a black guy. That's funny editing. So it's you can castrate the white ones. So something that changed big in my life was when I started doing animal husbandry. I'm like, oh, this is what the system is. It's just farming, and so that's like the vegan joke because and they also want to act like they don't have any like no bloods on their hands. You know, they're like, oh, this apple, there's no suffering. I'm like, dude, I have like genocided the tunnels of that orchard so that you can have that apple.
Man, it's I like when the joke is like super like when you said the vegan joke about the grown-ups essentially playing like kids,
Yeah.
That for example, that hits me, because like I actually like a plant-based diet, but
Totally.
but I do that, but I do that. I guess I'm guilty of that, so like I don't know, man. I just feel like you could tell someone has an ability not just for abstractions, but also cognitive dissonance and how much they actually support a performing art like comedy when they're not only able to laugh at, for example, if we make white guy jokes and I'm just laughing at you, and then, but then when you make a Jew joke, I get upset.
Right, exactly.
Then it's like, it's actually like he's like a hillbilly redneck. He taught me this. His name's Carl. He's a good friend of mine. And he's a successful real estate developer in northern Florida. And he would make all these hillbilly redneck jokes, and I'd laugh. He was doing it in front of my wife too. And she's German. She's never seen something like this, like an American like this, like deep redneck Southern accent. And then eventually I learned a very powerful lesson from him because then he started saying the sand nigger jokes, camel jockey jokes, towelhead jokes.
Yeah.
That was when, but then I was like, wait a minute, he did it in front of my wife. Then he did it. I was like, you know what? I caught myself. I was like, this is my dear friend. This is my dear friend. He's hosting me. Like, this is my dear friend. Like, there's no way he would. But I learned that what he was doing was like a comedian. He was almost like setting me up.
Cultural.
Hey, yeah, like I'm gonna do 10 redneck hillbilly jokes, and you're gonna laugh. But then I got you with a sand nigger joke,
Yeah, totally.
But
man.
you gotta laugh with me.
And that's what it's like checking somebody. Yeah.
Right. So, but here's the thing, Owen. I've also realized that, like, all right, I'd love to see what you think about this. So I did a bunch of jokes on like women and the gays and etc. When I start making fun of Andrew Tate, that was when so many guys got upset and offended. And I was like, wait a minute, you guys are supposed to be tough guys.
Right.
I saw that
too.
Like you guys are supposed to be hard, but then the guy has pink underwear.
100%, man.
Like it doesn't, and then they get upset if
Dude,
you say, hey, this guy has pink underwear. What do you think?
Dude, they're the worst at that shit. Do you want to know who sucks at getting made fun of? Or like the Nazi LARPy guys are like the worst. So I'm doing Jew jokes all day long, but it's about like victim consciousness. If you see my cartoon with Pol Pot and like Spielberg, where it's like, what about the Holocaust? I killed people in jungle. Why no one make movie? And it's like, it's about brand awareness, Pol Pot. It's like a funny bit about marketing an event. Okay. And so people are like, oh yeah, base, good Jew jokes. And then I'm making fun of like, the Nazis being on meth and being into fashion and goose stepping around, like being gay and stuff. And dude, they went nuts. And I'm like, okay, so you can't laugh at that Hitler did a photo shoot in like lesbian shorts. And it's like I'm showing it. I'm like, so you can't laugh at that, And then at that point, I'm like, oh man, this, and that's one reason why I like to check my audience constantly. Like I've done like big Christian jokes about like the Trinity. I'm like, two guys and a ghost. That sounds a little gay. Like, where's the woman? How do you have a, and it's like, okay, if you want me to make fun of like a Jew shit and I can't make fun of that, then we don't have an honest relationship. It's like if I'm feeding someone's thing that makes them feel powerful because they hate something, that's not being a comedian. That's like being like I don't know. It's like a slave driver or something, because it's like, it's just weird. That's why I like to check people. And yeah, culturally, I think like the rural white American culture is like, if you can't laugh, you're a bitch. Same with drinking. I don't drink now, but there was a time when that was a big thing. Like if you act drunk after 20 beers, like we're gonna piss on you and you fall asleep. Like it's like, you know what I mean? And same with jokes. Like if your dad dies, like we'll make fun of it that day. And dude, I'm not like that like as much as I used to be, but that's an intense culture.
Brutal.
It's brutal. Yeah. It's also, I think, Northern culture where it's like when it's cold, it's like so cold that you got to check and make sure people aren't weak, and then, I was doing a bit about the warmer the climate, the weaker people are. Like in LA, it's all like hashtags and bisexual experiences. And then in like New York, it's like hard mocking. Like you mock that, like you have one leg, And then you go to Russia, it's like, I ate your dog. It's like they'll just eat your fucking dog,
Yeah. They got dark humor. They got dark humor, man. And
super
Germany,
dark,
man. Yeah. Man, the Holocaust, the Jews. I mean, it's like they got it too, man. It's so hard and it's so right in your face too, So now with
And
this, now that you if it's all right, man, we're gonna watch a little bit more of this.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
It says you shouldn't speak with so much authority. That's what I've been learning. That I just say things. You're supposed to say things with a way out for people. Like, and you're not supposed to say studies show. You're supposed to say studies suggest. No, I'm down. I'll do that. I'm like, studies suggest the sound of a gun. Like, I don't know how to apply it though. I keep messing it up.
That's what the other do, yeah.
And they're like, but you're judging and mocking for something no one can help. I'm like, what? Why else am I making you uncomfortable? They're like, your giant size. I'm like, huh. Do you think I thought my way into it? Like, you just told me that we're not supposed to judge people based on things they can't help. They're like, yeah, but you're 6'8". That's very intimidating for me. I'm like, so's black skin. Like, no, that's not bad. I just want to know the rules. The rules. I'm not intimidated by black dudes or tall dudes. I'm saying if it's okay to say a giant is intimidating, then so is a black guy, right? And they're like, but we don't play by the rules. The Germans are like, we do. And so I was thinking about, because I'm 6'8", 250, so I'm like a giant dude, but I'm not actually intimidating. I'm like goofy. Like a lot of tall dudes are really goofy, or like we're not coordinated, I'm like a baby bird, like a giant baby bird. You ever see like a baby bird? They're like, no way, a wing. I'm like that. Like a lot of people just take for granted that they can do a new activity without a lot of work at it. Like, let's play badminton. If I've never played before, I can't just play badminton. I don't know how long my arm is. And then I got some advice from the retards. They just wear a helmet, right? If you wear a helmet, everyone's like, he's not really scary. He's wearing a helmet. So I throw on a retard helmet, and I'm like, studies suggest. All right.
Oh, you're a genius, bro.
Oh, thanks,
bro.
man.
I see a lot of...
No, man.
And a lot of this stuff, and this is the first time I've ever done any of these jokes. And the thing I was referring to with the gunshot is because I was like reading up on how like SAT scores or math is like racist against blacks. And so I was like, well, that very well might be true. But what about the Olympics? We're like, okay, so blacks are so much faster than whites. What motivates them to run? It's like the sound of a gun. And the sound of a gun has a different effect on a black guy. They're like, gun, bang. A white guy's like, someone's hunting. They got a 9-point. And then the what you get if you win, obnoxious jewelry. And so I have all these bits about how like what I just like to flip things and show how it doesn't make logical sense. And so yeah, OwenBenjamin.com. If anyone wants to get the full special, there's a lot of gems in there.
I hear the bullets, man.
What's that?
I don't know where these bullets are coming from. Is that yours?
No, you got bullets there. Where are you in Germany or New York?
I don't know where the sound's coming from. Hey, Lucanus, I think there's something. I don't know.
You got gunshots going?
No, man, no, man, no. I'm in Georgetown in the Washington D.C., man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
How is it there?
it's nice, man. It's nice, but I think that might have just been a tech issue. But hey, man. So yeah. So please, how could I appreciate you, making the time, man, and
Oh, I love this
that,
chat, man. I think we're in the same boat. It's like you gotta, and you were giving me good advice about having a product to sell, and that's what this special is. Because like we don't make money on the clicks like all these other guys with the YouTube, like with YouTube and all that shit, where it's like the numbers are their money. We have to just have a product people want to buy, and so that's the special. And I'll plug your book when that comes out heavy on my stream because I love that. Productive is where it's at, like just making stuff, selling it to people that's fucking capitalism. Communism is like the tallest nail gets hammered down. Don't offend the social strata, victim consciousness, all that shit. And it's a choice, dude. It's always a choice. And I just choose not to. And it seems you do too, which is, I love that.
Yeah, man, you're definitely like someone. I appreciate it, man. You're definitely someone I view as like very self-reliant. Very has a lot of autonomy. And yeah, you're really a free thinker. You're independent. You're willing to pay the price for your creative expression. You're just willing to really, really be that person. It's like I think it might have been the Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged. I'm not sure. It was one. I forgot, maybe it was 1984. I forgot what movie it was, what book it was, but the last scene was this guy and he was like just moving around very free. And they viewed him like he was like, they circled him, put him in like a cage in a zoo. And they're like looking at him from like the helicopters and everything. But he was the guy that was free.
Yeah,
He was the
100%.
guy, he's the guy that's actually fucking free, breaking conventional wisdom and these social constructs that are so, detrimental, I guess, to really creating something, and it's not like you're just doing art that's like offensive to just offend people. It actually is an art. Like you could see some comedy, they're just gonna say something offensive just to say something offensive at a comedy. It's almost become a cliche at this point. They've destroyed the gay jokes in a way, to me, because they just say it to say it. But with you, it's like I feel like it's really genuine, man. It's like it's a real art. Like you're really looking at, okay, I'm gonna say this, but I really want to make this funny. Not just I'm gonna be nasty and beat down, punch down. You punch up, you punch down, you punch up, you punch
Punch
everywhere.
up, punch down. Yeah. And it's like my son was explaining what I do for a living, and he's 8. And he said I drain people's despair like a plumber. Because what I'm always trying to do is like, I'm like trying to relieve stress by showing something that's funny. Like I'm never trying to like be like, I'm gonna hit you where you're vulnerable for just to hurt you and make you weak. Like I don't do that. It's more like checking somebody's spots where they don't see. Like for example, right now, because I'm all about nature and like the nature of something versus the label of something. And this whole Jew thing right now is fascinating to witness because I'm watching as things are morphing where, like we were talking about Nick Fuentes earlier on a live stream, he lied about me and said, someone's like, why don't you do a stream with Owen Benjamin? He's like, nah, wow. And he said I threatened to kill his family for 2 years, which is not even close to reality. I made fun of his dad when I was wearing a fucking sombrero once. And so, I'm like, okay. And so I correct the record and I'm like, no, actually. And then he blocked me. He went from following me to blocking me. And I'm like, okay, so victim consciousness so that you can do heinous acts without any consequences. Isn't that what you were just making fun of Jews for doing? And you're a Catholic, you're Christ is king, all that stuff. So it's like, there is no label, and I'm now starting to see the same behavior because I was never like, I'm mad at Jews, like a religion or a blood or anything bullshit like that. It was like that behavior of like, I can get away with it because I've been hurt in the past like that. And so I'm now seeing it way more out of this new uprising of like the anti-Jew stuff. I'm just like, oh, so you're now the victim and now you can do anything you want. And, now we just swung the pendulum. Like growing up, the Catholic Church was always the ones grabbing like little kids and being weirdos and fucking being hypocrites, and then Hollywood made, had like a lot of Jewish hypocrisy, but it's just hypocrisy. It's just the nature of something. And that's why I don't fall in those traps. And people think I'm always changing my mind, but I'm super consistent. It's like, I make fun of the nature, not the word for it, you know?
You know, one thing I do, Owen, I don't know if you do it or not, man, but I have like a new page where I just put my comedy, and I've separated it, you know, because I feel like you and I are both like outspoken about, you know, like some of our views. So what I did, man, is I built a new page, for example, on Instagram, Alpha King Nima, and there I can just do comedy, you know.
That's
So
cool.
whereas like, yeah, because bro, like for example, on my personal page, if I'm talking about personal things and then I'm doing a joke, I find I get in more trouble that way than
Yeah.
if I,
Yeah,
you
dude.
know,
Definitely. I do this. I'm the same way. A close friend of mine was
yeah,
telling me that about branding because I don't think about shit like that. But he's like, so you're saying like great parenting advice, followed by a black joke, followed by homesteading videos, followed by astronomy speculation, followed by like a really beautiful thing about your wife. He's like, people don't know how to retweet it or share it sometimes because they're like, I like this, but the next thing could be fucking crazy, you know?
yeah,
And so
yeah,
and so it's funny. I've been slowly building this organic audience that likes that about me. Where like the compliment you gave me earlier, like you don't know where I'm going to go. Where it's like
yeah,
it's more
yeah,
like high IQ, interesting people that are like they like my shifts, my improv, you know. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah.
other people though that are like, man, I followed you because of your like homesteading and you just did like a whole thing on like meth and Nazis and shit and then Jews. I'm like, hi, man. You know, and there's such a good point to that. I think so I'm trying to do that kind of too. I just got to get better at it. But yeah, to set like I'm a comedian, this is my comedy, and then this is me as a person versus like, yeah, I that happens to me all the time. I lose jester's privilege when they're like, I'm following you as a guy because I like what you've stood for. I love your like I'm a classical piano player. Imagine someone just following me to listen to me play the piano and then they just see me like talking about playing golf on the moon and you know, it's crazy. So you got a really good point. And I'll like make fun of the same guy for 2 weeks. Like I made fun of Nick Fuentes for 2 weeks every day and people are like, "What the I don't even know what the fuck this kid is."
Yeah, I you know I go off in these I relate, man. It's like I did like a month of Andrew Tate, bro. You know, it's
Me
like
too,
I
dude.
couldn't.
He got me banned from Instagram. Like I got censored by Andrew Tate. So
Oh,
Andrew Tate got me kicked off Instagram in like 2022. You know, I'm
he
making
blocked
fun of
me.
his
Yeah,
gay slippers and all this shit. And then he would retweet me, and then I still would be like, yeah, but it's like it's you know, it's victim consciousness, it's feminization of like young men. It's you know,
so he was doing.
I'm not gonna save anybody. I'm not gonna like not fuck with that guy, even though he retweets me, you know.
He was doing gay. He had so it wasn't just the pink underwear. Even in 2018, he had the gay stuff,
Dude, I
the gay
find
slip.
that behavior very like feminine and gay, where it's like, you know, only the best slippers for me. And then like he's like talking dirty to guys online, saying like pretending to be a girl to get money out of them. I'm like, so this is not only is this not like the ultimate man, this is like really despicable behavior. And it's weird when people sign off on that. It's like inversion, you know. It's like the same with this Fuentes character. Like he'll go on a date with a guy dressed as a cat and everyone's like, oh, he's bringing back being a man. I'm like, dude, every guy I know is a better man. Like my buddy that just came over to like help me fix something, like better man. It's like, oh no, Fuentes is going to save us. I'm like, dude, this is a fucking joke.
Hey, this video on Twitter, man, on X, where if we could see it, Laconis, please. It was funny, man. It was where you have Nick Fuentes as this like
I'm
the
a
village.
bitch. Yeah. Oh, the Village People
Yeah,
one? Oh, that's funny too. Yeah.
we
Hey,
see
looks
it
just
here.
like the Village People guy.
Yeah,
Just I
we
hate
see.
the world today. I don't remember this one. Which one is this? Is there sound to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was to that Meredith Brooks song. It's like, I hate the world today. You're so good to me. I know, but I can't change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I guess
yeah, go ahead.
I guess there's no sound.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, people can get that. And so that's the
Yeah,
guy who
yeah.
wanted to date with. And again, I'm just making fun of him. People then be like, oh, you're obsessed. You're deep state. Why are you trying to take down blah, blah, blah? I'm like, dude, he's justifying a guy putting a black dildo in his mouth. He's claiming to be like right-wing Catholic. If I don't make fun of that, I'm literally a liar. And then so the more heat I get, the more I'm like, oh, I got a spot. Like this is a real thing. And I just keep hammering it. And then it's like, okay, then I make my point and I move on. It's the same with Andrew Tate. It was like the victim-y, the Matrix is coming at me and all that. I'm like, well, you're also, running a casino and a porno parlor. Like you think that might be something to do with it,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I mean, what sort of guy? I don't know a guy, bro. Like you told me I never met a guy that wears pink underwear and he's on the phone or texting people pretending to be a woman talking about their dick or their, getting banged in the ass or like, I don't know. I don't even know what sort of conversations this guy's actually having with another guy, because I don't think they're paying to talk about sports, bro. They're talking about fucking in the ass. Does he tell the guy, oh, I like it when you put your big dick in my ass? I mean, what is Andrew Tate doing?
Dude, he brags about it. That's why I'm always going at what people are bragging about. Like, I'm never making wild accusations. Like, I'm never like, oh, Andrew Tate's secretly Mossad or CIA or whatever the fuck people are saying. I'm like, no, it's what they're saying. He's like, listen, mate, you got to give them a fantasy. You can't just be like, I'm going to Dubai. He's like, these suckers in Minnesota, we got to sell them, like, oh, I'm vulnerable. Oh, I just can't stop. And he's like, oh, you're cock. I'm like, dude, that's profoundly gay. Like psychologically get in the mind of like a married man to get his money as you're pretending to be like a Ukrainian prostitute. And he's like, man, I hustle these guys. I get all their money and I buy a pink Bugatti. And I'm like, do you know you're gay? You know what I mean? I'm like, and then like, do you have evidence he's gay? I'm like, no, I've never seen him fuck a guy, but like, he's basically on a pink pogo stick with a lollipop. Like, I'm like, that's what gay means,
Yo, man. I mean, the thing is, like, because you and I are, a little bit older, so like, I could see how I could see how he hustles the teenagers.
Me too.
I see it, But then it's like when he's around the seniors of like the high school, it's sort of like, all right, bro, you're dorky, It's like you're gay and you're dorky, But like the pink underwear for me was just like, because I don't understand how a guy could have pink underwear, and then you look at the underwear, it's like a thong, bro. And you can't even see his dick. It just looks gay. It just looks gay, bro. It's like a tranny. Then he did a video talking about the tranny. You see the video where he said, could you bang a tranny or not?
It's like a 10 tranny, you got to fuck the 10 tranny, then the mid. And dude, this is what I'm always doing. One reason I mock them is a service to the youth. Because I imagine like a young guy who's like scared of the world now. He thinks things are going to shit. He's like, man, at school, everyone's mocking me for being male. And, I really just want to see strength. And then they'll see like Nick Fuentes or Andrew Tate. And they're like, yeah, he's going to help me out. And meanwhile, they're just grooming them to be like gay, bitchy, whiny fucks. And I'm just like, I just want to break that and be like, bro, like just being a good guy, working hard. They're like, oh, white genocide. I'm like, have a kid. Was the Jews like, was the Jew batting your dick away from a woman? Like they just pop up like having a gila and they won't let you have a child. Like it's so fucking dumb. And then I'm like, just have, dude, my buddy that was just over has like, he's about to have his 7th kid. He's like 30. I'm like, if only someone told him about the fucking Kalergi plan, he would have none and just be addicted to gay pornos. It's like, it's on you. And then that's when they get so mad at me. They're like, if you try and break someone's victim consciousness, they'll like spend all day trying to prove that I'm an evil, hypocrite. And it's pathetic.
Well, Owen, man, just so where could it's been a pleasure having you, man. I hope.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been loving this combo, dude. I'm loving it.
Man. Yeah, man, it's been amazing, man. I really respect you a ton. And where could everybody in my audience find your movie or find you on social media? Because I can't wait to see this whole thing myself. I know, it's like I'm excited to see it. It sounds hilarious, So,
yeah, and my audience is gonna love your shit too. It's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Man. Yeah, it's another thing where people are like, oh, Owen's so anti-Semitic. I'm like, dude, they'll love you. It's all about being real. No, people don't like fake, shitty, lying guys where you can like show something and then they just lie about it. Like, and Anyway, so unauthorized.tv is where all my streams are, like my entire catalog. Because I fought so hard to keep my catalog when I kept getting deleted, because out of context is where all the lies can get made. And if you just see the joke, especially when you're doing comedy, it's like my Wikipedia is such horseshit. They will take a literal joke and be like, quote unquote. And so that's fine. It's become kind of funny, but I want people that want to see what the fuck I was talking about to be able to see all of it. So unauthorized.tv, the Feed the Bear subscription, it's $5 a month for like all my old specials. I have like 7, 8 specials, and like 2,000 streams about all kinds of topics, homestead and movie reviews, ups and downs, cancellations, all of it. And unauthorized.tv, our own servers, we built it ourselves. And then Bertaria Times, our social media, is completely clean, ironically, because it's for like homesteading, business creation, family creation. It's for everybody that says, now what? After you learn about false flags and shit like that, instead of just going down like a bad path, just be like, now what? So what do I do with this information? And the thing is, just build and be a good person. And so we have that. And then the new special, owenbenjamin.com. It's for sale there. And if it's not for sale, you're the product. And I know you're going to have the same thing with the audience. And it's like, I'm all about training people to buy what they consume, because if not, your attention is the product, and they're trying to put shit in your head. And so the reason like you'll sell the book, I'll sell the special, is because like the product is that, not your audience. And that's why these sellouts make so much money, because they're not getting paid to make their audience laugh. They're getting paid to like get their attention and sell them shit.
Yeah, man. Well, Owen, man, thank you so much for making time in, and I'm excited to see the film. Everybody, please check out Owen Benjamin on X, and his new film at unauthorized.tv. Feed the Bear.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
All right, man. See you, bro. Hey, man.